Hello everyone. Next topic is our nervous system. There are two types of nervous system present in our human body: central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. Central nervous system contains brain and spinal cord. Peripheral nervous system contains somatic nerve system and autonomic nerve system. Central brain in that central nervous system contains brain in that lies within the skull and it is shaped like a mushroom. It is divided brain divided into three parts: the forebrain, midbrain, hindbrain. Forebrain contains thalamus, hypothalamus, and cerebrum and midbrain. Then third is a hindbrain. Hindbrain contains cerebellum, pons, and medulla oblongata. Next is forebrain. In that cerebrum, it forms the bulk of the brain is surrounded on the brain stem, divided into two hemispheres. Each hemisphere controls the activities of side of body opposite that hemisphere. There are four lobes are present in the cerebrum that work for the same, that is frontal, parietal, occipital, and temporal. Next part is diencephalon. It includes the thalamus and hypothalamus. Thalamus is a thalamus function is the sensory impulse transfer to the brain. Then hypothalamus connect the endocrine system and control the pituitary gland. It is a small part of diencephalon. Then the midbrain provide conduction pathway to form a higher and lower centers. Hindbrain in that contains cerebellum, located behind and below the cerebrum, responsible for muscles, coordination, balance, and posture. Pons act as a pathway to higher structure. It contain conduction pathway between medulla and higher brain center. Next is the brain stem, also called as medulla oblongata, located between pons and spinal cord. It is responsible for breathing, solar heartbeat, and BP. Next is the spinal cord. It is a long tube-like structure which extended from the brain and composed of series of 31 segments. Pair of spinal nerves come out of each segment. The region of spinal cord from which pair of spinal nerves originates is called as spinal segment. Spinal cord protected by vertebral column. In that motor and sensory nerves are present. Motor neurons are impulse from it transfer the impulse from the brain to body parts and in that, for example, accumulator uh, nerves and pathetic nerves, spinal accessory nerves, and hypoglossal cranial nerves. Next is the sensory nerves. In the it is also called as afferent nerve. It transfers the impulse from body part to brain. For example, olfactory nerves, optic nerves, and auditory nerves. Other part of CNS, that is meninges. There are three layers present in meninges that cover the brain and spinal cord: outer layer, middle layer, and innermost layer. Outer layers contain dura matter, middle layer contain arachnoid matter, and innermost layer contain pia matter. Next is the function of meningitis. Their protection to brain and spinal cord, act as barrier against bacteria and other microorganisms. Cerebrospinal fluid, in that it is present around the brain and spinal cord and protect the brain. And watery fluid is produced by special cells in the four hollow spaces in the brain called as the verticals. Next is a neuron or nerve cells. It is a basic structural functional unit of the urinary uh, nervous system. Specialized conductor cells that receives and transmit electrochemical nerves and impulse, conduct impulse from one body parts to another. The parts of the neurons are soma, that is cell body. This portion of the neurons receive information and contains cell nucleus. Then secondly, dendrites, thin filament carry information and transfer to the soma. Next is the myelin sheath. It is waxy coating, protect the oxygen. Many axons covered by a white waxy substance called a myelin sheath. And peripheral nervous system contains two components of that is somatic nervous system and autonomic nervous system. Cranial nerves are there are 12 pairs of cranial nerves are present of the PNS with expression of optic nerves, olfactory nerves. Remaining 10 cranial nerves axon extended beyond the brain and are therefore considered part of the PNS. It consists of PNS fiber that pick up sensory information from the peripheral or distant organ and carry them to the CNS. Consists of motor nerves fibers that comes out to the brain and take the message for movement and necessary action to the skeletal muscle. Autonomic nervous system is another part of the PNS. Three layers contain sympathetic nervous system, parasympathetic nervous system, and enteric nervous system. The nervous system controls nerves of inner organ of the body uh, on which humans have no conscious control. This include heartbeat, digestion, breathing, etc. The nerves of ANS innervated the smooth involuntary muscles of internal organs and glands are responsible for function and secretion of enzymes. Next is what are the functions of nervous system are monitoring changes and the interpretation of sensory input that interpret the sense input and decide what should be done